Okay, okay. So we're gonna do a fun Bible study. Alright. Alright, so this is my interpretation. This is my what would be the right like breakdown my analysis. This is my analysis of the Bible. Okay. In the beginning God created the heavens or the heaven and the earth. So okay. Wait, and we'll go on. And the earth was without form and void. Darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. And God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters from which were above the firmament. And it was so. Okay, so wait, keep going. Okay, okay. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. And God said, "Let the waters under the heavens be gathered together under one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and he gathered together of the waters, and called he seas. And God saw what it was that saw that it was good. And God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass, and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, which seed was in itself after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the third day. And God said, "Let there be light in the firmament of the heaven, and to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth." And it was so. And God made two great lights, the light and rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day. And God said, "Let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven." And God created great whales and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters and the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth." And the evening and the morning were the fifth day. And God said, "Let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping thing, and beasts of the earth after his kind." And it was so. And God made the beasts of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the flesh of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon this earth." So God created man in his image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. And God blessed them. And God said unto them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and every living thing that moveth upon the earth." And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree, and in the which is the fruit of all of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat. Yeah. And to every beast of the tree, and to every fowl of the air, and to every living, everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life. I have given every green herb for meat, and it was so. And God saw everything that he made, and behold, it was very good. And in the evening and the morning were the sixth day. So, um, yeah. I was gonna go over like the metaphysics and whatnot of the creation. And so let there be light. So in the beginning there was the energy, just energy. And but energy not in motion. Well, okay, so if okay, if time is everything, okay? So energy is the ability to do work, is the definition of energy. So the ability it takes energy to do work, and work produces energy. So it's kind of like, let's see here. If I don't know, this is the conundrum I've been working on AI with, because energy is a word that it takes itself to define. Because energy can either be created or destroyed. But if you define energy, it comes up with like 20 different kinds of energy, which all define energy, which is kind of like the word love. If you think of love, you think of all of these attributes of love, which then all have their own definition. So you have to take into account all definitions of every attribute of love to get love. And energy, you have to take into all the accounts of, well, no, because energy in all of its different names of energy are all attributes of energy. But before the creation, before let there be light, the energy was none of those attributes, but all of those attributes at the same time, because there was no friction to cause the energy to have to fluctuate in order to divert from the originally intended line. So then that's where let there be light came into effect, and through the first breath, the first breath of life, the first, well, in Christianity, which I strive to be Christ-like. I don't like labels and whatnot. Christianity is the closest I would say to uh, what I believe. So then we go back to, so the energy is just there, and we'll say it's moving through space, time, continuing, because space didn't exist at that point. So it's just moving through the non-existence of existence that doesn't exist yet, because the existence hasn't existed yet, because God hadn't created it yet. But God is energy. So then if energy is, oh yeah, that's where it was, kinetic energy. So kinetic energy is stored energy, and I don't remember what the energy in motion is. But anyway, so energy was sitting there chilling or moving, on a whatever. However energy moves, I don't know. You tell me how energy moves. So energy was either in a straight line or a singular resting point, and then it got kinetic energy. And kinetic energy decided to make itself into fluctuations, which then uh, formed a thought. There we go. So, and the thought was, let there be light. Now, I know it says in the Bible he spoke, but if you think about it, if you were to not have a mouth and you spoke telepathically, spoke defines communication, not how you communicate. So, if energy is God, because all energy is God, and God is breathed the energy. So that means that energy is a byproduct of God, which in turn is God. Like, yeah. So um if energy was a standing energy, and then it got a thought through kinetic energy, it started to think in a direction outside of what it, or it concentrated thought. There we go. That's a better way to put it. It thought, and it put into attention. You know what? I'm gonna check something here. I'm gonna create. I'm gonna create the something. You know, he already created the universe. So the creation that he spoke, which is a certain frequency, which would correspond or correlate with the if is a frequency, yeah, So let's say that was, because that is let there be light, actually. And I don't remember how that came about, but I think the literal translation of is light. I could be wrong, though. Or if it's the same frequency. So the was thought or spoken, let there be light, and that put into effect the gravitation and matter, which then over the 7 days, which I don't argue with that, but who's to say what 7 days is in eternity? So what we perceive as 7 days is just, it could be like 10 million the first day, and then 7 million the second day, and so on and so forth. So we don't really, cannot even close to plausibly quantifying the uh, actual timeline of the universe. And if they say they can, they have to take into account the fluctuation of the universe fluctuating in and out as time goes by. So if you're taking into account the light spectrum from the farthest distance and following it and tracing it for a time, then you have to take into account that as consciousness expands, the universe grows, and then the universe shrinks depending on the energy of that conscious state. And so that goes with the theory that back in the day, the earth had giants and whatnot are real, that's obvious. But the giant spiders, like in Harry Potter and all that good jazz, and because it's in Harry Potter, it's in Lord of the Rings, it's in all video games, and trees were, I mean, if you go to the oldest trees, they're gigantic. Now imagine all the trees were that big, and all of the insects were bigger because the trees were bigger, and the earth was actually bigger, you know? So that's a fun conundrum that you can think about. And so then, and that ties in with the flood, Atlantis, um, Ice Age, dinosaurs, the Attack on Titan, if you watch anime, Godzilla, um, and space travel, and the black hole, and all that good jazz. So that is the like rundown, I guess, of where this is going to be heading, maybe, if I can keep a train of thought long enough to actually stay in a linear timeline. But then you have to think what time. I'm just playing. I'm just playing. So we're back at day one in time. That it could be thousands of years, it could be millions of years, it could be a literal day for all we know. I mean, no, I mean it could be, but this is where evolution and not Darwin's evolution. I have to repeat this every time. So Darwin actually took the book of one of his students, or the hypothesis of one of his students, and turned evolution into Darwin's theory of evolution. And what the student actually studied was the insects and whatnot. And so he was going over the evolution of insects over periods of time and all that good stuff. And so he studied the insects and everything about them and saw, the ones that had males and females, the ones that I can't remember the um, proper word for it. When you only need one sex to mate. Yeah, I don't remember. But at any rate, single celled organisms and whatnot are that. And so he studied all that good jazz too. But you got to think the microscope didn't come into play until the 1800s, I think. Is when, because 1912 is when cellular research became the biggest phenomenon. And that's when they reached their peak of wanting to care about telling the people the truth about the cellular regeneration. Because that's when they started studying or applying epigenetics, eugenics, and like Island of Dr. Moreau, you know? That's a crazy one. Back to day one. What was in day one? Hold up. So day one was because day four was the day and night and the season and whatnot. So day one was, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. In the beginning, and God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw the light, and it was good, and God divided light from. You know what? The way that's explained, I mean, I guess he had to have made the universe as well. But that is a conundrum of a conundrum, because heaven and earth is the earth, Gaia, and the atmosphere and the energy frequencies, and the firmament is the the baseline, and the atmosphere pressure and all that good jazz. The ozone. There you go, ozone. All right. So in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. Okay. So if it was without form and darkness. So okay, that explains that. And that would go into a lot of different theories. So, okay, there are Christianity and Bible and creation. There we go, creation. So, God is energy, though. So, energy created energy. And through, okay, so sorry, too many thoughts going through my head at the same time, and I'm trying to figure out which one would be best to start this off with to make a coherent thought instead of just a bunch of hypotheses blended together. because that's what it is. But you have to understand one to get the other. So we'll start at the Big Bang. The Big Bang is so what comes first, a thought or the energy to create the thought? Does the thought create the energy or does the energy create the thought? Because a thought is a frequency, an electrical pulse inside of a synapse. Okay. So a thought is a frequency then of electricity that comes out of the brain in whatever format it's coming out of. And so what then creates the energy synapse to fire the thought, or does a thought coming in create the electrical impulse? Is the energy to create the electrical impulse to have the thought? So really it's just what do you call that, a transition point where oh, what's that word, transformer, you know, not like Transformers, robots, and this guy. No, more like the electronic Transformers, you know, like that you would use at a power plant and stuff. So Transformers are the central point in which the energy is calculated, diverted, and resurged to transport into the new synapses. And so that's basically what the brain is to thoughts, because thoughts are everywhere in time. All thoughts of all time exist at all time. You just have to be on the right frequency to be able to pick up the thoughts that are coming and translate them properly. That's the craziest thing. That's where the subconscious comes into play. But so is a thought coming in, getting processed into the brain like a switchboard almost to tell the synapses which part of the synapses to synapse and let the memory store and the thought become a thought. So it has to figure out where in the brain does it associate with in the frequency. It's like an antenna and a cable box that are like the old school antennas and all that good jazz. So oh, that's crazy. Maybe I shouldn't shouldn't know this stuff. I don't know. Should I know this stuff? Nah, not the stuff I'm saying, because that's in my life. That's common knowledge, except for the what comes first. Because I think the wave is the trigger, but it would be like energy meets frequency creates pulse of energy, which then creates communication in body. That makes perfect sense. That does. I'm gonna stop there. I know we didn't get, but we're gonna go back to this whole "let there be light" thing, cause that's interesting. You know, he did say he created the stars. Okay, so maybe he worked backwards. Maybe the Earth was the original creation. Okay, okay, maybe I read that. I didn't read it all. And while I was reading it, I wasn't paying attention because I was reading. Okay, so God saw it was light and it was good and divided, and God called the light day and the darkness called night. And then first day. Okay, so yeah, it doesn't say how long it took to create the earth. It just said that he put water on it, or that it was full of water. So day one, he said, "Let there be light," and made the sun. And day two, well, that was the first day. He made the sun, which then started rotating and all that, or started the rotation and all that good jazz. But okay, that actually would make sense. Okay, so let's say this to all the space nerds out there and all that good jazz. If he made the sun first, so he found the Earth, or made the Earth, or found the Earth. I guess I don't know. If energy was, if that was, what if, okay, so, because he made the stars. So what if he found the earth and created the sun? Okay. So then the uh, initial jolt of gravitational pull would have spun the earth so fast that the water would have flown out in the stars and created stars. So then uh as it started to get into the rotation, it then would be proper earth, that would create the land mass and all that good jazz. Because if it was a full solid earth of water, he would have either created the sun and it was on rotation right away, and the sun melted the ground eventually. And the first day was when the uh, first landmass appeared. Or there's the super fast centrifuge, which separated the water until it started to balance itself out and the gravitation worked itself out and it started to form the land masses and whatnot. That's a fun thought. Because if you think about it, a star, if it was originally water, and who knows what original water would have been, I imagine it would be like easy water, which is um, and apples and your blood and in your body and whatnot. So, and when the sunrise and the sunset is when easy water is created in your body, and it's just a thicker form of water. So that's fun. Yeah, I'm gonna check out right there. Have a good night.